And now I'm very excited to welcome back an NFL betting expert, as well as the editor and host of the Vegas Sports and Information Network, and Mr. Matt Youmans from VSiN.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter at MattYoumans274. Matt, I got you on your first day of vacation. I'm starting to feel a little bit bad, man. How you doing?
Hey, very well. Thanks for inviting me back on. I love your show because we can drop F-bombs on your show, and F-bombs I'm talking about fast food, right? Now, it's only a brief vacation. I'm just heading down to Del Mar, San Diego and Del Mar for the weekend, and just taking a quick break. The Del Mar racetrack just opened. I don't know how often you make it over there, but that's one of my favorite places to go in the summer.
It is a fantastic place. I've only been there once. It's funny. I go to San Diego every year in early October, late September. I'm not sure if I'm making it this year. Baseball tournaments get in the way, but that's now that my kids are older, I think I might have to get over there a little bit more, and that's exciting. That's going to be a heck of a vacation. You golf out there a little bit?
Probably not. Just stick to the horse races and the beach and all the. We got. Yeah. There's so many people from Vegas. I know San Diego and Vegas are going to be at the track this weekend. Probably skip the golf. And I had my fill of golf last week with the British Open. It was a good week. I'm winding down the golf season. I'm probably only going to play a couple more times here before football. Things get so busy, man. That's why people ask me a lot of times, golf takes all day. You don't have too many days on your schedule where you have all day to golf. But I'm hoping to play 2 or 3 more times before the summer's out, but not this weekend. It's I encourage. I've said this for many years. I've been going down to Del Mar racetrack probably 23 years. I found out about it more or less my second year living in Vegas when I moved here August of 2000. Went down there. It's just a phenomenal place to be, and everybody who goes down there loves it. You got the beach across the street from the racetrack, and so many good bars and restaurants around there. It's just good. Great way to get away from Vegas for a few days, and hopefully we'll see you at the track sometime soon. Everybody who goes there loves it. I'm serious. I'm surprised more people don't go there more often. But, it's open from middle of July to first week of September, and that's it every year. So,
yeah, I can't remember when I went because we were going to San Diego in July for a while, but we decided to change it to fall break for my kids, and there you go. It's closed. So, It's just timing, really. It's really what it is. Kids are already back at school here in Arizona, which is nice, but
kids are in school now.
They started last week. When I flew back.
Wait a minute. How can you go to school in Arizona when it's 115 degrees? You're asking
because there's nothing else to do. That's why they put them in school. It's like it's hot as heck, and granted, Matt, we've had an awesome summer. I mean, it's been in the 90s this week. I missed a hot day when I was up in Wisconsin, but it's been a crazy cool summer. But yeah, the whole idea is 8-week summer vacation starts like third week of May, but they have 2 weeks in a day for spring break. They have a fall break that nobody else gets. That's 2 weeks in a day. And they have about 2 or 3 weeks in the winter. So the fall break gets a little nutty for us because we're like, Jesus, man, what are we going to do? But you know what? I'm happy they're back.
I'll tell you what, no wonder kids hate school now. Why are you going to school in July? Come on, man. That's terrible. I'm glad I'm done with that stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. And I have a buddy in Wisconsin that his kids are going back in September. And that's how it was for me, really, when I was lived in a little bit of Downers Grove and Chicagoland area and then Wisconsin. So that's how it is. But anyways, we're talking some NFL today. But hey, man, of course, before we get into some NFL, I just got to ask you, when are you going to release those delicious fast food rankings that I look forward to so much every year?
Well, this might be the last year you look forward to them. I announced on the Mitch and Paul show, Follow the Money show on VSiN a couple weeks ago that this is going to be the last dance at the drive-thru. This is it. This is last year for the fast food rankings. We started doing this during the pandemic in 2020, when we had 3 months with no sports, and it was a great conversation topic. It's blown up. It's crazy. When I was on Mitch and Paul's show and talking about this a couple weeks ago, we talked about college football, some baseball games that night, and then did 2 minutes on the fast food at the end. Said, hey, we're going to announce the rankings on Thursday, August 7th. It's going to be the last dance at the drive-through, and that's it. Everything runs its course. Every great TV show you've ever watched, whatever, everything comes to an end eventually. So this is it. This time of year, I need to be working on the NFL, college football, so many other things I got going on. I don't really have time to do it. Plus, it's just kind of run its course, right? I think there's always a time to put an end to something. So we talked about that and probably had, I don't know, over 100 responses on Twitter to just that part of the show. 0 people talking about college football and baseball. And every single tweet was about fast food. That's how popular it is. I've got some ideas about these rankings in the future, but as far as doing these on VSiN every year, this is going to be it. Thursday, August 7th. Tune in. I know how much you look forward to it, and I know you're going to ask me what franchise is moving up or down. I don't know. I've been working on college football and NFL. I haven't even started. I'll start working on that about 10 days out, which is going to be pretty soon. The Hall of Fame game's right around the corner. That's August 31st. So we're getting there, man. It feels like football season right now.
It sure does. And that's a shame to hear that. I mean, maybe at least like this time of year, you can at least say if there's been, any new restaurants you like or any shakeups, which I was going to ask you if you foresee any shakeups at the top of your rankings. But, one thing for me is like, it's still the same for me at 1 and 2, Culver's and Portillo's. So it's not like, I'm not changing it. So I understand how something could run its course because of that,
Yeah, that's Culver's, Portillo's, probably a pretty strong 1-2. I can't give anything away, but that's a good guess on your part. I do have some ideas for the fast food stuff in the future, but as far as the top 50 rankings every year at this time of year, this is it, man. It's and I know that people think I just ranked 50 and move on. I actually have a power ranking system that I have for each franchise, and I write up a long column with a paragraph on each franchise because people always say, hey, I'm going to Portillo's. What do you recommend? Well, in this column, I recommend what you should order at every fast food franchise you go to. Now, a lot of people are too lazy to read the column, but all that information's in there, right? So that's where I put all the work into it. But I'm actually appreciative that so many people love it. And the fast food stuff's caught on, become so popular. But hey, man, what were your favorite TV shows in history? I remember Cheers, when it ended. I haven't watched many network TV shows in the last, or anything except for sports in the last 25 years or so. Yeah. But, you think about great TV shows like Cheers and Seinfeld, everything comes to an end. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think I stopped watching sitcoms after Seinfeld died out. I couldn't stand Friends. I'm sorry. It just wasn't for me, I guess. I don't know. Right. There's some people that swear by it, but it wasn't for me. And I like Married with Children, I guess. That's probably was my go-to when I was young, but that's another good topic to talk about too. We can pretty much bring a top rankings on pretty much anything. What's up, Sean Higgs? Thanks for stopping by. We love Sean, man. He's an awesome capper too. And
Big Rig Higgs puts his plays out on Twitter every day. Big Rig Higgs. All right, let's start talking football. We got 45 minutes and a lot of divisions to get through.
Let's do it, man. And I always start with my favorite division, the NFC North, being that I'm a recovering Bears fan. And now I did make a bet in it, and I regret it a little bit. And it happened, I think, in May. It was one of my earlier bets. But what do you have for the NFC North?
I don't want to say the division's wide open because that's a cliche a lot of times, but I really think the Lions are going to come back to the pack. And it's not just losing both coordinators, Ben Johnson to the Bears, Aaron Glenn to the Jets. I thought Ben Johnson probably brought the best out of Jared Goff. And I do think there's going to be a bit of a drop-off. Now, also, the Lions' calling card has been that offensive line. It's been the best or one of the best in the NFL, right up there with the Eagles. Well, they lose 2 starters off that offensive line in the offseason. I think that's going to hurt this team as well. Mm-hmm. And you can say, well, there was a lot of attrition on the Detroit defense a year ago, and they still, went 15-2. all that's true, but I really think with the shuffling on the offensive line, I don't see the replacements really being up to par right now. I think Dan Campbell is going to get exposed a little bit with these coordinators gone. Also, the rest of the division is getting better. I know that it's tough to say the Vikings are going to be better than 14-3 because they're not. That win total obviously has dropped off dramatically in the market. That's still a really good Vikings team. And the biggest change is quarterback from Sam Darnold to J.J. McCarthy, and we don't know exactly what to expect from McCarthy. But I think the Packers are going to have a bit of a resurgence this year. I like a lot of things about the Packers on both sides of the ball, and the Bears are just going to look like more of a professional organization. They were an amateur clown show a year ago with Matt Eberflus in charge. Caleb Williams, saying he looked like a rookie last year would be a compliment because I thought he looked really bad for most of last year. he looked like a college quarterback who had no idea how to survive in the NFL. Well, that coaching staff didn't do him any favors last year, and I think Ben Johnson's going to try to whip him into shape. So yeah, the Lions win 15, Vikings 14, Packers 11, Bears 12. How about this? You know this. The Packers went 1-5 in the division a year ago, right? And the Lions went 6-0. That's going to change a little bit this year. I like the Lions under the win total. I have not bet this yet, but I do like the Lions under the win total. If you want to make a case for the Vikings over and say the market numbers drop too far, I could buy into that. I'm tempted to bet the Packers to win the division, but I'm just not quite there yet. Some things about Jordan Love have bothered me. And Bears probably finished last, but the Bears are going to be better. The one thing I was talking about on a show recently, if the Bears had moved to 1.5 point favorites over the Vikings in that Week 1 game in Chicago, I think that's a great opportunity to tease the Vikings up to plus 7.5. That Vikings defense is legit, and they're going to be in that game. I think maybe a little bit too much Ben Johnson hype in his opener. And you talk about J.J. McCarthy making his first start on the road, all that. I don't love the game in terms of, the 1.5 either way, but I do like the Vikings if you tease it up to 7.5. But that's just something I was talking about last week. I have not bet yet.
This is a great idea for a teaser already. My regret is the Lions over 10.5 because I made that bet on May 18th, it looks like. Yeah. And that's when then all the bad news came in. And the truth is you're right. Dan Campbell is, he reminds me of Ed Orgeron a little bit. He's like a great maybe leader of men type thing. But when it comes to plus the X's and O's, he needs somebody for that. And I feel like Nick Sirianni had that issue when he first lost his coordinators and then got better ones and then finally won the Super Bowl, right? I kind of feel like that happened too. So this could very much happen to the Lions. This was the one I do regret was betting that over the win total. I do have plus 100. I guess if they win a fierce few games, maybe I can get off it. What I did do, though, is I made a play against the Bears and against the Packers. The truth is that I think that the Bears have a quarterback that I don't even know if he was worth a not even first pick of the draft, but a first round pick, dude. And I'm a Bear fan. Yeah. I see issues all over the place, and he just might have been one of those good college quarterbacks because he had a ton of time to throw the ball. But man, the guy emotionally does not look right to me. And right now, he wouldn't even be in my top 2. It'd be Jalen Daniels and Bo Nix, and maybe even Penix over. And you can talk about Drake May too. I don't know. Now, if anybody can fix him, maybe it is Ben Johnson, and it's going to take some serious fixing. But it wouldn't surprise me if Tyson Bagent is starting half this season because Ben Johnson is just freaking fed up. And to be honest with you, I was actually kind of high on Tyson Bagent a couple years ago. But but this number's wrong on the Bears at 8.5, and I didn't bet it under at this point yet. I'm going to wait a little bit. And or I might not even bet it because of the other issues you said with this division. We don't know about McCarthy yet. The Vikings were very fortunate from a Pythagorean win total, but I took the Vikings to win the division and the Lions to win the division. Lions plus 140 and the Vikings plus 400. I think the Vikings could be the one that actually hits on this one because I don't trust the Bears and I don't trust Jordan Love just like you. Let's move on.
I was going to say last notes about that division. I like a lot of what you said there. And about Caleb Williams in the spring of 2024, I probably said 100 times on VSiN, maybe even on your show too, the Bears should trade that top pick to the Commanders. Let the Commanders take Caleb Williams because he's from the D.C. area. And I thought, with Cliff Kingsbury there, who coached him in college, Cliff was OC, that said the Commanders probably want Caleb Williams. And if you trade that number one pick, drop that down to number two, you're going to get the better quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and you're going to get draft picks too, right? When on the swap from number one to number two, if I thought that the Commanders coveted Caleb Williams, he was a hometown guy, he's going to be the new face of the franchise, that would have been the trade I said the Bears should make, is drop down from 1 to 2, and you still get the best quarterback in Jaden Daniels at 2. Well, I think it was Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears, said it was a no-brainer to take Caleb Williams number 1. I don't know how Ryan Poles has got a contract extension.
Dude,
that was a bad move.
It's so Bears. It's so Bears.
It is. It's such a bad move to draft Williams number 1, and then you give the GM a contract extension. I just still don't see this Bears organization getting things right. Another thing is the Vikings, really good. If you look at their roster in 2 deep, really talented and really good on both sides of the ball. The biggest question mark is McCarthy, obviously, but this Vikings team's solid, and I like the coach a lot. The Lions, check out the schedule for the Lions in the first 6 weeks. At Green Bay, home against the Bears, which is a soft spot for the Lions. At Baltimore, home against Cleveland. At Cincinnati, at Kansas City. You're playing at Green Bay, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, at Kansas City. Those 4 road games in the first 6 weeks. If the Lions are 3-3 after 6, they're going to be pretty happy with that.
I think so. They would be happy. They've got some disagreement in the chat, but I'm still holding stay with what I said. I disagree with my bet I made. I wouldn't make it today, but I'm still okay taking a shot against the Packers and against the Bears. So that's what I'm feeling. These guys in the chat want to go to talk to week 1 already. It looks like Jesus. For the sake of time, we can read on the Bears all we can, but man, we can make 2 shows about that. But let's go to the NFC South here. The NFC South obviously was led by the Tampa Bay Bucks. What do you have for the NFC South?
Well, this is going to be quick. I don't like this division. So the Buccaneers have owned this division recently. I'm still on board with the Buccaneers. I've been a Baker Mayfield guy for a long time. Even when he struggled in Cleveland, I thought the Browns should have stuck with him. Obviously, they made a huge mistake. They'd be much better off with Baker Mayfield. But I was watching on NFL Network, actually, it was last night or the night before, I was watching that Lions-Commanders playoff game. And Mike Williams, as long as you got the Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans connection, you got the best offense, probably the best offense in that division. I do like a lot of the pieces that the Falcons have. They've added some dynamic players. I don't like the coach. Bryce Young, I'm not a believer. He's going to have to show me a hell of a lot more than he did at the end of last year in some meaningless games for me to be a Bryce Young believer. And the Saints, I told Rob Mish this. He was writing a column for the Chicago Sun-Times. That was in late April, early May. And I said at the time, bet the Saints under the 6.5 on that win total right now, because that 6.5 is not going to stay out there in the market. They got to be in contention to be one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the league. I don't see how the Saints are going to win 7 games. You can look at the division and say, well, it's a bad division. They get some winnable games on the schedule, which is true. But all those other teams are looking at the Saints and saying, hey, that's a team we can win too, or we should win. If you look at the NFL, I'll tell you, every year, I'm going to go back to last year's standings, Kiev. Every year there is like 8 teams that win 5 or fewer games in the NFL. Let's see, last year it was 6, 7, 8. There were 10 teams that won 5 or fewer games in the NFL last year. The Saints' win total is now 5.5. How are the Saints not going to be one of those 8 or 10 teams that win 5 or fewer games, right? So I think that might be in contention for the worst team in the NFL. You look at the Saints quarterback situation, ugly. If you look at Kellen Moore as head coach, I think he's overrated. He was overrated as an OC. I don't think he's going to be a great head coach. There's not a lot to like about the Saints. So my pick is the Bucs to win the division. Not quite there yet on the Falcons, and I'm fading the Panthers and Saints.
I took the Saints under 6.5 on May 10th.
That's good.
One of my first bets, and I also took their alternate win under 4.5 at plus 240 as well. And so I think they might be the worst team. And that was one of the ones I'm all over. I'm glad we're on the same side of that. Funny, it's like it's been so long since I made these bets. I have to like dust this stuff off and like go back and see what I was thinking. I took the Bucs over 9.5 at plus 100. I took them to win the division last year. Thank goodness, because that was one of my nice ones that I hit at plus 3 something for. It was like 340. But the numbers wrong. Their numbers off now, and I do agree with Sean Higgs saying the value's probably on the Panthers or somebody else. But that's why I just took the Bucs over 9.5. Because I think it's still their division, and I just kind of like that organization right now, and I think they're kind of going the right way. And man, Evans, he just does not die. So let's move on to the NFC East, and obviously you have the Eagles as the champions there, the Super Bowl champions. Any changes going on in the East?
That's interesting. I was doing a show at Circa a couple nights ago, and this guy walked out during the commercial break. He walks up, he said, "Hey, I want to bet the Cowboys to win the division at 6-1. What do you think?" I said, "Well, I think I don't like it. I do like the Cowboys over the win total. I think the Cowboys are a team you can bet over the win total. And the Cowboys are probably it's always tough to say the Cowboys are undervalued because everybody looks at Dallas a different way. Some people think they're always overhyped. But in the betting market right now, I do think the Cowboys are a bit undervalued because previous 3 years before last season's implosion when Dak Prescott was injured and the Cowboys just unraveled, everybody knows they won 12 regular season games 3 years in a row. This team's plenty talented. Now you got George Pickens opposite CeeDee Lamb. I think the offense could be really good. Offensive line's dropped off a little bit. Still, it's not a top 10 offensive line in Dallas like we're used to. But I do like it's strange to say, I think the Cowboys have made a lot of smart personnel moves on both sides of the ball. Talent level looks good to me. I think the Commanders are going to regress. You know, so many people think every year that a team's just going to keep improving. A young team's going to keep improving. And the Commanders went 12-5 last year. They won their final 5 games, including the Hail Mary game against the Bears. I think that 12-5 record is a little bit phony. They're going to regress a little bit. As much as I love Jaden Daniels, he made it look a little bit too easy last year. It's not that easy. Look at C.J. Stroud and the Texans from a year ago. So many people are on C.J. Stroud's train and the Texans, and what they do? They definitely came back to the pack and regressed. Stroud wasn't the same player. Texans did go 10-7, but they had a point differential of 0, and they won that division because it's a really bad division. I think the Commanders are going to take a step back. Cowboys got a chance to take a step up. And all you hear on every show, this VSiN or anywhere else, is how bad the New York Giants are going to be. And I tend to agree with that for the most part, but I think the Giants could be a lot better. I like their defensive front. I think that they got it right in the draft. They had one of the best draft classes in the NFL, including Cam Scatterbo, the running back from Arizona State, was a steal when the Giants got him. And I think Giants could be a lot better. Don't forget, Week 1 Survivor. Giants are in Washington to play the Commanders. Washington right now is 6.5, 7-point favorite, whatever. I think Giants are going to be live dogs in that game. They should have beat the Commanders on the road last year. They had the kicking issue that cost them the game. It's always tricky playing division favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Like this.
Oh, yeah. First
in week 1. And I can guarantee I've got 7 entries right now in the Circa Survivor. May end up with more, but I've got 7. I can guarantee you 0 of those 7 are going to be on the Washington Commanders in week 1. But again, you know, I was big on the Eagles last year. I had a bunch of Eagles futures at 16-1, 14-1. I had the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I just don't like teams in general to do it back-to-back years. And the Eagles did lose a couple important players on defense. And it's just, I don't like to bet on teams to repeat. And in the NFC East, it's weird. You haven't had a repeat winner in the NFC East for 20 years since the Eagles did it. I would still pick the Eagles to win this division, but I'm not going to bet that. I think the Cowboys might be a team to watch a little bit, and the Commanders take a step back.
Everyone and their mom and Survivor is going to be on fading the Titans, I guess. That's what it sounds like against Denver. It's funny. It's like your second choice is supposed to be Washington. And last year I wasn't on the Carolina Panthers in Survivor, and I kind of maybe padded myself a little too hard because then I was on the Ravens against the Raiders in week 2, which we don't know what happened in that one. I mean, I can't bet the Cowboys under 7.5. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I think there's a team that they're getting a lot of bad press right now, and yes, they have some stars that want to get paid, but I do kind of like their draft, and I think they could. Dak, now that they're playing no expectations, yeah, they could creep up there. The Giants definitely could be better, and that's what you do for week 1. I'm glad how you mentioned that. You look for division dogs in any situation, especially at home. They're very live in week 1, so you'll be looking to bet them, and that's just a sharper play that people make when it comes to NFL week 1. Let's move on to the NFC West, and I'll just tell you right now, I did take the Niners under. It looks like May 27th. I took them under 10.5. I feel like when the draft happened, I really started getting mad at some of these teams or something, but I mean, dude, this team. They're just a bunch of pieces of themselves, and you'll have to prove it to me. And if I do a Pythagorean win total article every year, I did it. It should be tagged on one of my Twitter profiles. But it showed that the Cardinals were the best team in that division from a Pythagorean win standpoint. So I actually took the Cardinals to make the playoffs at plus 130 at 0.5 stars. So under on the Niners, Cardinals will make the playoffs.
Okay. Very interesting division. I'm intrigued by the NFC West. A year ago, I did bet the Rams plus 390 to win this division. You're not getting the same value on the Rams anymore. It's a little bit less than 2-1. And the 49ers have a much softer schedule than the Rams have. When you look at it, I do think the Cardinals can be a team on the rise in that division as well. I don't like the quarterback situation in Seattle, even though I like the coach quite a bit. So one of my favorite plays here is Rams over 9.5 wins. It's bet at minus 130. First Super Bowl futures bet I made this year was in March, sometime during March Madness at Circa. I bet the Rams at 30-1. And right now, I think the best you can get on the Rams is at DraftKings, probably 22-1 and 11-1 to win the NFC. Yeah. But if you reflect on that day in January, it's cold and snowy in Philadelphia. Matthew Stafford and the Rams had the ball at the Philly 21-yard line with 1:25 to go. Yeah. And I was nervous of sweating that out because I had all those Philadelphia futures. I was like, they're going to blow this game. I can't believe it. And the drive died. Stafford was sacked on 3rd down. And then he fired that 4th down incompletion out of bounds like a rookie. I still can't believe he made that throw on 4th down. He threw the ball over the receiver's head out of bounds on 4th down. 28-22, Eagles survived and won that game. Even before that, obviously I was on board with the Rams. But after that game, I started thinking, man, this is a team that could really win the NFC next year. The Eagles went on and they crushed the Commanders and the Chiefs in their next 2 games. So you have to think that I think the Rams made a statement, in that playoff game at Philadelphia. Stafford's 37 years old. I think he's still plenty young enough to say he can win another Super Bowl. He should be more productive as a passer this season with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua being a dynamic receiver duo there. Kyron Williams is one of the tougher running backs in the league. Had 1,299 yards and 14 touchdowns last year. But then look at the defensive front 7. Jared Verse, Byron Young, Omar Spates, linebackers, Braden Fiske, Kobe Turner on that defensive line, and Poona Ford, who was a great run-stuffing nose tackle for the Chargers last year, comes to the Rams in free agency. Yeah. In 8 years with Sean McVay, the Rams won the NFC West 4 times, made 6 playoff appearances. They started 1-4 last year, and I thought, man, I was wrong about the Rams. I can't believe I got that wrong. Then that young team grew up and they rallied. They finished 10-7 and won the division. I don't think it's going to be easy. I did not bet the Rams to win the division here because the Niners have a softer schedule. But I like the Rams' talent on both sides of the ball. Obviously, like the coach a lot, and I think this team is a Super Bowl caliber. So Rams over 9.5, and whatever other futures you want to bet on the Rams, I'm on board there. I'm not fading the 49ers like I did a year ago, just because if you look at their offense, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy now, they do have the pieces back around Brock Purdy. I don't think Deebo Samuel is going to be a big loss. He was hurt a lot last year anyway. He's been banged up in and out. I'm not a full-on fade on the Niners, even though I don't like their defense nearly as much. The Cardinals look like a young team that really could surprise some people, but not sure. I've still got some doubts about Kyler Murray and that the Cardinals team, even though I will say that offense got the potential to put up some big numbers. You got to like the receivers, and Cardinals have some exciting potential. I just have not bet any futures on that team yet. And even though I like the coaching situation so much in Seattle, I'm not going to recommend any plays on the Seahawks right now.
You know, and Birdie landed on the Seahawks over the Cardinals. You know, for me, I don't think Darnold is what he is. I think he was just a beneficiary of an amazing coach over there.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. And that's my problem. But at the same time, I can make the argument is Kyler Murray's head right too on the Cardinals. You can pick apart a lot of these freaking teams, you know.
Right,
and
right.
At least one thing I do like with what you're going with, Matt, is that you're betting on a team with a good quarterback and a great coach. You know, if you just bet on great quarterback coach combos in the NFL, you're probably going to be pretty successful, you know, throughout the years. And so I totally see that. I'm just curious if that defense gets a little sharper there, if Jared Verse can lead it. And like you said, the Poona Ford pickup, pretty interesting. So yeah, it's going to be a really fun division to watch. Let's go about AFC North here. And, you know, you got the Ravens there that just can't get over the playoffs hump, you know, and this division was supposed to be the best, I thought, last year until you saw what Cleveland really was. But, man, what do you think about the AFC North for 2025?
How can the Browns not be one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the league? Start at the bottom, at the top. That's a tough one. I actually like the Steelers more than most people do. I thought the Steelers also had an outstanding draft. And I like the rookie running back from Iowa, Caleb Johnson. He's going to put up the running situation behind Aaron Rodgers and the receiver with DK Metcalf brought in. Even though George Pickens is gone, I think he's more of a problem in Pittsburgh than anything. Aaron Rodgers got some players around him. And he's also going to play with an edge this year. And I thought Rodgers, even though I criticized him heavily last year because he stunk, to be honest, he stunk in the first 3 months of the season. He got better later in the season, showed a little bit more mobility, which, of course, the first few months he was as mobile as a mannequin back there. He couldn't get away from any pressure whatsoever. I thought he played his best in December, and I don't know if that's because he's getting further away from the Achilles recovery and he was looking better, or that he had Devontae Adams in that offense, or what it was necessarily. But I also think that Rodgers, even though we're all tired of his diva act and all the baggage he carries, he's going to come into this season with an edge. He knows this is his last shot. He doesn't want to go out like that. So I actually think that I'm a little bit higher on the Steelers than most. To me, though, it's 2-horse race to win the division. It's the Ravens and the Bengals, and the Bengals just have a bad defense. Joe Burrow, that's why Burrow is going to put up such big numbers. Again, Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and everybody in that Bengals offense. They're going to play in some shootouts. Their top defensive player, Trey Hendrickson, led the NFL in sacks last year with 17.5, and they can't get the guy signed. Right? They're going to jerk around their best defensive player on a bad defense. He's not in camp, and some bad signs there on that side of the ball. I think you have to go with Baltimore to win the division. But I think the Bengals are going to be due for a bounce-back season, but they got to get Trey Hendrickson signed in camp.
Yeah, that whole Trey Hendricks thing is a mess, man. And I just I don't know what to do with this division, and I'm just going to decide. I decided that this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, I I disagree that he's getting better. I think he's continually getting worse and more mental as the years go by. And I have no faith in it. And to be honest with you, I was hoping that they would go with Howard because I did bet him at 70-1 to hit, was it rookie of the offensive player or rookie of the year? That's what it was. Offensive rookie of the year. And then they brought Rodgers on, which people kind of expected. But Will Howard, what's funny is his odds dropped. They're at like 50-1 or 30-1 now, 25-1 on DraftKings. I'm like, how did they drop after Rodgers? I don't know. But Rodgers, I'm not buying into it. Some of the Steelers just keep getting by. But they got rid of Najee. They're swapping receivers for another diva like DK Metcalf. It just doesn't do it for me. But to be honest with you, this is one division I'm staying away from, man, because there's just a lot of weirdness to it, and I think the Ravens take it again. I guess if that's fair to say. I just
definitely fair to say. But believe me, I understand all the skepticism about Aaron Rodgers because I'm not a big fan either, and his plays declined dramatically in the last few years. He didn't even play well his last year with the Packers. I thought he stunk that last year in Green Bay, but you're going to see him play with more of an edge because this is his last shot. I'm trying to approach that one as a contrarian thinker because everybody else is on the other side. So I'm going to say when everybody says one thing, you got to start to think, all right, maybe I should look the other way. But there's not a lot to love about the Steelers. I think the Ravens were one of the best bets to win the division in the NFL. We call it a two-horse race, but the Bengals defense is so bad. I think Baltimore's got to win that division.
Yeah, I would say so. That Bengals defense is terrible, and I don't like Zach Taylor as a coach. I don't get me wrong, Harbaugh messes up too, but not nearly as bad. Zach Taylor's just not. I think they got by so well before just the strengths of Burrow and Chase, and they just need a new coach over there, in my opinion. Ravens week 1 lock for Survivor, bro. After the Ravens lost that last year, week 1, and then to the Raiders, there is no locks on those pricks. So I won't be picking the Ravens. What about the AFC East? This is interesting because everyone seems to love the Patriots. And when I say love, man, this number went from a massive, supposed to be the worst team in the NFL, 4.5, I think it was last year, to now, what was it, 8.5 with New England with their season win total? What do you have in the AFC East?
Yeah, that Patriots win total is taking a big leap in the market. From a team that won 4 games a year ago. I like Mike Vrabel a lot. We had a guest on our show a week and a half ago or so. He made a really good case of Mike Vrabel's an overrated coach and pointed out a lot of his game management flaws and things like that. And I said, well, those are fair points too. I like Vrabel a lot, but he's got a few weaknesses. I think maybe the Patriots hype is a little bit too much at this point. I've never been a Tua or Dolphins guy. I don't like Mike McDaniel. I'm not going to talk much about the Dolphins. I've got no interest in that team. The Dolphins are always like a fade or pass with me. With the Jets, they still got a long way to go. Justin Fields is going to put some highlight plays out there. He's a dynamic playmaker, but like the Jets still have too long of a climb to make here from 5-12 last year. The Bills should just run away with this thing. We were talking about, if you want to throw futures on a parlay, and Circle lets you parlay futures and a couple other spots too as well. Just throw the Bills minus 270 to win the division on there, and you shouldn't have to sweat it, right? They won the division by 5 games a year ago. The Bills should win the division easily again. I don't know which team could take them down. I don't like the Dolphins, don't like the Jets, and I think the Patriots hype is a little bit too much right now. So, again, this is a division. We talked about Bills and Ravens. I think both those teams should win those pretty easily again this year.
Yeah, the Bills have the easiest schedule in the land, man. It's by far. And, I did have to take what's funny is that even though their season win total was pretty high, I believe, and I'm looking at my bets here on my spreadsheets, I took the Bills over 11.5. I did. I mean, this is a remarkably easy schedule. And I bet the Bills at plus 275 to be the number 1 seed in the AFC.
I like that too. By the way, I wanted to follow up on that. So I'm glad you said that because was talking about somebody with that the other day. The Bills should be the number 1 seed in the AFC. Look who the Bills get at home when you were talking about their schedule. They get the Ravens at home. They get the Chiefs at home. They get the Bengals at home. And they get the Eagles at home, right? The 4 toughest games on the schedule, they all get at home. And that's why I like your bet. I like your bet there on the Bills to be the top seed in the AFC.
Oh, great. So you know what? And I did take the Patriots under 8.5 at +100 on DraftKings just because I am not buying this hype. I mean, I see a 7 or 8 win ceiling. What Sean says in the chat about the Jets, I think the Jets could get to 7. It's +120 at 6.5. You know, I didn't bet it, but it wouldn't shock me if Justin Fields just completely hated on over the last few years. Figures out a way with some pretty good stars there and some pretty good money spent on that defense. So it wouldn't shock me. I didn't bet it yet, but I know what you're saying for sure. And Bills pass rush, sure. But the guy that they lost, who just signed with what's his name, the pass rusher, he didn't play much last year. He
talking about Von Miller.
Von Miller, yeah, he didn't do anything anyway. It's like
he's a ghost.
So
He's a non-factor. Now the Bills have got Joey Bosa, who's going to be injured all the time, and
probably I would say don't play Joey Bosa until the last quarter of the season.
Right.
That way
right.
you can.
That's the thing about you hear on some of these talk shows. Josh Allen can't get the Bills over the hump. Blah blah blah. It's not Josh Allen. It's the Bills' defense. The Kansas City Chiefs scored 31 points or more in one game last year, and it was in the AFC Championship when they beat the Bills 32-29. The Buffalo defense and the coaching has been the biggest problem why the Bills can't get over the hump in the playoffs, not Josh Allen being a choker.
No, Josh Allen is the best playmaker in the NFL. If Mahomes is the best quarterback, Josh Allen is the best playmaker, and Lamar's really close too. Lamar's kind of a mix, but I think Josh Allen is the guy who you want the ball with, in my opinion, at the end. And don't get me wrong, it's like getting ahead of the Chiefs is the goal here. But now that we're getting to the AFC West, maybe Mr. Matt Youmans has some things to say about the Chiefs.
Oh, by the way, one follow-up on the AFC East. How about that Week 1 game, Steelers at Jets? I mean, I'm very tempted to play the Jets as home dogs. I'd love to get a 3.5. I think as soon as you saw a 3.5 pop up on the screen, it would be gone. There'd be sharp money on the home dog. Might end up on the Jets anyway. That's a great matchup, and I got to look at the home dog in that one. Let's go to the AFC West. I love the Broncos. And in fact, the Broncos were the team I changed course on last year after watching the preseason. I listened to a lot of people talk about how Denver is going to be so bad. I talked to one of the Raiders beat writers who's laughing about how bad the Broncos are going to be. Worst team in the division. They're terrible. I watched the Broncos in preseason. I said, man, Bo Nix looks pretty good. This team is a lot more talented than people think. And you look at the schedule last year, win total was 5.5, and I just changed my mind. That's why I watch a lot of preseason. I'm kind of a weirdo in that way. I watched preseason. I record all the games, watch them over and over. And I watched the Broncos, and I said, man, that team's a lot more talented than people think.
Yeah.
Well, you're starting to see that now. It's recognized around the league. You're seeing offensive line rankings come out from Warren Sharp and other, NFL Network sources, and the Broncos rank as one of the top 2 or 3 offensive lines in the NFL right now, which I'm totally buying into. I rank the Broncos offensive line number 2 behind Philadelphia. Denver might have the number 1 defense in the NFL, and it's a stronger defense on paper right now than it was a year ago. So, and Bo Nix, I'm not saying he's, the same thing I'm thinking with Jaden Daniels. They were both impressive last year as rookies. You can't just assume they're going to improve, and take the next step the next year. They might regress a little bit as sophomores. You have that sophomore slump. I'm a little bit concerned about Bo Nix, but hey, Sean Payton coached him well last season. I think, last year was the time to buy low. You're not buying low so much in the market anymore. The schedule is a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to stick with the Broncos here. This is a team that returns 20 starters are back. They got some key roster additions in the offseason. More talent on that defense. This offense a year ago, Sean Payton's offense was 10th in the NFL in scoring, 25 points a game. I don't think a lot of people realize the Broncos were 10th in scoring. Denver defense led the league in sacks and ranked third in scoring. And like I said, that's a real deal. And that defense is better now. I brought a couple key players over from San Francisco and much better. Broncos were a blocked field goal away from sweeping the Chiefs last year. Again, best defense, deepest roster, best offensive line. I like the Broncos to win the division. I bet them at plus 350, over 9.5 wins at plus 110. So I'm on board with the Broncos again. I don't know if the Super Bowl hangover is going to hit the Chiefs like it did the 49ers a year ago, but I do think the Chiefs are going to come back to the pack. They've won the division 9 years in a row, trying to make it a perfect 10. All the other teams in the division are better. You know, this last few years, you've heard a lot of people say, this is the year the Chiefs are not going to win the AFC West. This is the year. Well, I really think this is the year that they might not win it. I have not been fading the Chiefs in recent years, but I am looking to fade the Chiefs a little bit this year. Broncos to win the division. Chargers are going to be right there. And the Raiders finally look like they're getting their act together. I'm not buying all the hype coming out of Raiders camp right now. And Pete Carroll being so fired up and saying that, you know, they're going to win big. But the Raiders are going to look a lot more like a professional football team. Last year, they looked like a clown show. And I think the rest of the division is good enough. Hey, don't forget, kid, last year, the Chiefs won 3 home games in the division by 2 points each. Beat the Raiders by 2 on that Black Friday game. They probably should have lost. Beat the Broncos by 2 on that blocked field goal. Probably should have lost that game. Beat the Chargers by 2 at home. This division is catching up to the Chiefs, and I think this is a year you could see a team like the Broncos take them down.
I hope Tony George isn't watching this because he knows how I despise the Chiefs and what all the balls that just happen to bounce their way. You know, there's never been a bigger Pythagorean difference, a 5-game difference from what their wins. And that's for them starting all their junk, you know, second and third string the last game against the Broncos, you know.
Right.
So it's like it was just crazy. And if you look at team rankings, they have a luck factor. I've never seen a luck factor last year as high as where the Chiefs were either. You know, I lost an under bet on them, but I also took it again this year at 11.5 because they are not supposed to win this many games. It is absolutely ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, there's clutch involved with Mahomes, but there's a lot of things, and I think the league is a little bit more in tune to it. I took a shot against the Chiefs, and I guess you can say the Raiders, by betting both the Chargers and the Denver Broncos, plus 370 on the Broncos, plus 300 on the Chargers to win the division. So you can blend those odds. It's plus 150 blended odds. But, you know, the thing is that I like the fact that I'm taking a shot with 2 up-and-coming teams. Nobody's had more money to spend than the Broncos, than anybody in the offseason. They brought in a ton of talent. But I'm also got one of the best coaches in the world of football in Jim Harbaugh. With this team, I trust him to slow things down and get this team even better. So I think that's a good bet at plus money, just kind of taking a shot against the Chiefs. One thing I will say about the Broncos, if I'm going to throw any mud, is that they were a bit of a bully last year, kind of that school bully beating up on the little kids. But once they face the jocks, they get their butts kicked. They only beat one team above 500 minus the Chiefs. If you throw that last game away, and that was the Tampa Bay Bucks on week 3. The rest of them, they just pounded the crap out of the little children of the poor, tomato cans, we like to call it. And then they lost against the bigger teams. But they're a better team this year. They signed a ton of talent. Bo Nix is coming to say. So I do see the progression there. But I just think taking the shot against both teams is what you want. Moving on to, and we'll get to quick the exact props, Birdie, but anything for conference champions or the Super Bowl?
Well, I will say that you skipped right over the AFC South, but I don't blame you because there's not much to talk about there. The Texans, the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Titans. I will say that this scares me a little bit because the Broncos are going to be so popular in Survivor in week 1 over the Titans. Broncos are home against Tennessee, and that I want to play Broncos against Tennessee too, but that is going to be the overwhelming. Well, you know what? The Commanders. It's going to be the Commanders or the Broncos going to be the consensus, right? Top choice in week 1. I was hoping the Broncos wouldn't get that popular in week 1, but I think they will.
I was hoping Will Levis was going to play because I think he's so bad that he might be worse than that.
Oh, well, Will Levis is a disaster. There's no question about it, but he's not going to play this year. Texans look like the obvious choice in the South, even though, like I said, they won 10 games and had a point differential of 0 last year. C.J. Stroud took a big step back, and that offensive line looks still like a mess. Colts quarterback situation, I don't know what they're going to do with Anthony Richardson. I'm still not buying into the Jaguars and their new look, and that's about all to say about the AFC South. All right, so what was your next question?
I'm going to lose on the Jaguars again to make the playoffs at plus 172. So I'm going to lose with them. But the next question was, what do you have for the Super Bowl? And then we'll have a minute or two to get into the exotic props if you have anything.
Well, that's all I bet so far is the Rams. That's it. I bet the Rams at 30-1. Sure. I bet the Rams win the NFC. I'm probably going to do something else here before the season, but, it's middle of July right now. I bet that Rams future in March, and I haven't done anything else since. I typically don't make a bunch of bets in the Super Bowl futures market. It's not like college basketball. Right. College basketball, we make a lot of, plays all over the futures board. You see value up and down throughout the season. NFL board's not like that. But the Rams are the one play. I'm really surprised, too. It was at Circle last night. Rams are down to 16-1. When I first saw it, it was 33-1. And I thought, I've got to bet the Rams 33-1. Didn't bet it. 2 days later, it's 30. So I bet it at 30, it's all the way down to 16, but you can still find 22-1 at DraftKings on the Rams. I'll probably do, something else, but for as of right now, that's all I've got on Super Bowl future.
I just got the Bills plus 750. It wasn't a big position or nothing. It's just one of those like, okay, if I think they're going to be the 1 seed, and it pays plus 275, I have some very hedgeable opportunities in that situation. So that's all I did. Let's move on to the exotic props then. More like rookie of the year. Obviously, we have a question from Birdie. Any thoughts about Jahdae Barron, defensive rookie of the year? He is in a great spot. He is in a great spot. But when it comes to cornerbacks, you just have to expect that they're going to get those interceptions. I guess will they throw against that defensive line a lot? That's the question. Are they going to run the ball against Denver? I don't know. I suppose Denver's defensive line is improved. I like James Pierce myself at defensive rookie of the year at 19-1. I just took that a day ago just for a little bit of money. I think that it's just finally Atlanta did the right freaking thing and drafted an actual real edge rusher. I think that that's going to open it up for Pierce in that division to get to some of those quarterbacks, because that was my thought process. That Baker Mayfield, while a great quarterback, still somewhat of a statue. You got we need to mention the Panthers with Young, and then obviously who's the other one in the division? Saints. The Saints is chopped liver. They're freaking dead. I don't care who's starting at quarterback there. They're going to get sacked all over the freaking board. So I like Pierce.
I like Pierce too. I didn't bet anything in that market. Jahdae Barron, I thought, was really smart draft pick by the Broncos. Again, talking about, I think that Denver defense could be the number one defense in the NFL. I love a lot of the moves the Broncos made on defense in the offseason. It's interesting. You look at the offensive player of the year market. I think the Raiders are going to run the crap out of Ashton Genty. And I saw one book put his prop number at 992.5 for total yards, rushing yards. I'd bet that over. Also, I think Caleb Johnson, the rookie from Iowa, is going to put up big numbers in that Pittsburgh offense. They're going to run him a lot. But I didn't bet anything there. One thing, not yet anyway, the one thing I have bet so far is Joe Burrow to win MVP. And this to me is, I was thinking about the Bengals being a bounce-back team, but I hate what's going on the defensive side of the ball. So it's kind of a way to bet on the Bengals.
Great way. And
take their below-average defense or bad defense out of the equation. I think it's smarter to bank on the offense and the quarterback here. Cincinnati had the number one ranked passing offense in the NFL last year, 273 yards a game, sixth in scoring, 27.8 a game. Burrow led the NFL in passing yards with 4,918 and touchdowns with 43. Look at his numbers last year. Outstanding, right? But the Bengals defense so bad, they're getting a lot of shootouts. I think Burrow could top 5,000 passing yards this year. Well over 40 touchdowns again. His injury history is a bit of a concern, but you got Jamar Hayes, T. Higgins. You got so many pieces in that offense. Could be the number one offense in the NFL. If the Bengals are a playoff team, which should happen, I think Burrow is going to be a top contender for MVP. You got Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all those guys. I don't think if you look at Patrick Mahomes' numbers, they've really declined in the last couple of years. So I'm kind of taking him out of the MVP equation, even though his receiver core, if they're all healthy, is going to be explosive and could be dangerous, more dangerous this year. I just took a shot on Burrow, plus 650 to be MVP, thinking that he can pass for 5,000 yards, and the Bengals are going to put up big numbers offensively again.
Yeah, absolutely. Burrow, third and quickly moving into second, but that's a great way to bet MVP. And that's how, and this is what your same thought process is with college. If the quarterback's got to consistently make the plays and he's going to be in there the fourth quarter, because that defense sucks, he's going to get all the accolades, just like Jaden Daniels did the year before last, right? That's pretty much what happened. So that's a fantastic way of looking at it. I mean, I looked at Christian McCaffrey and I'm scratching my head. Is he offensive player of the year? Is he comeback player of the year? So that completely screws that whole market up for me.
Sure.
I'm like, Christian, it's much better at offensive player of the year at 22-1, but he's such a, low odds plus 350 to make comeback player of the year. It was tough for me to even look at those, I think I took, one more. Coach of the year, I did do Jonathan Gannon. That's another way to bet the Cardinals, I guess. 20-1. I lost on them last year. I'm going to lose on them this year, maybe. But like I said, it's the Rams and the Cardinals, in my opinion, in this division. If the Rams just happen to kind of sneak ahead somehow, whatever injuries, something, maybe it's Jonathan Gannon that gets that. And you look at the Bears coach at plus 650. Holy cow, what a terrible odds. And yet, he was an amazing offensive coordinator, but dude, he has not showed us that he's a coach yet. And obviously Caleb Williams can screw that up for him too. So I just took a small shot at that. But speaking of time, we got to get to contests. What's going on for the contest this year? What are you doing for them? And are you getting any of the circus?
Of course. I've actually had a friend in town from Texas who wanted to put some money in the contest, one of the partners. So we got 3 entries right now in the Circa Million and 7 in the Survivor. So we put 10,000 into that in the last couple of days. And then I went over to the Westgate. I put 5 entries in that new Super Contest College and 1 entry in the NFL Super Contest at the Westgate. And that's I'm actually most fired up about 2 contests. The Survivor, obviously, because you're going to have about 20 million in the pot, right? That's just insane.
Probably.
And it's you've got to get 5 entries or more in the Circle Survivor contest with that pot being so big. And the Super Contest College at the Westgate, I've been asking book directors in Vegas for 20 years to come out with a college football contest with all the games on the board, not one of these BS contests where you only have 15 or 20 college games on the card. Every college game on the schedule needs to be on the contest card, and Westgate's going to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about that contest. I'm hoping they can get up, around 2,000 entries or more, but I was over there last night, and I put in 5 entries for myself and then 1 entry for Jeff Seeley from Indiana. He wanted to get in it, sent me $500 to put him in. So 6 entries, I put him up to 104. Got a long way to go to get up to 2,000. That's very early. Over the next 5 or 6 weeks is when most of the contest entries are going to come in, but got a lot of work to do to get those numbers up at the Westgate contest. The Circa is going to be fine. I'm sure Circa is going to get it right around, the 6 million number in the million contest. But I think the Survivor is going to blow up and be a $20 million pot.
I really hope so. And Survivors will bring in some more millions. Millions almost made it last year, and Survivor blew it away. And you got to take a shot at Survivor. And if I'm tied with 1,000 people and it's week 15, I'm just going contrarian because I'm not playing it to buy a half of a new car. I'm playing it to win the big pot. So that's the way I'm going to play it. And I'll get in millions immediately, and I'm also getting in the college contests. Like you said, it's I was in the William Hill ones when they did the 2 years there, and I didn't like those as much. But now that they have a huge card, we'll see how it goes. I've been begging for college contests that are worth something. We'll see how many entries get in. I'm hoping to get 1,000 there. it's still very early in the game. So I'm with you on that, man. And I'm excited for contest season. And, one of the big draws to Vegas is getting in these contests, and the Circa is the best. And I won't be in the Grandissimo. I'm not like that. but I will be in the other ones with you, Matt. But that's a lot of contests you're in, man. I'm excited to hear you do it, and we'll be joining you. I wish I was going to see it, because obviously contest weekend you're going to be gone in a beautiful country of Hawaii, and doing the Hawaii game, and I'll be at the Circa. So unfortunately, I'll miss you then. But otherwise, man, where could our listeners and viewers get your great information?
You know what? It's Circa's got a lot of great stuff going on in August. Bet Bash weekend, you got the contest weekend. That weekend, August 22nd, 23rd, Tim Murray and I are going to take our VSIN show out to Honolulu for the college football opener, Stanford, Hawaii. So we're going to do a couple shows out there. So, yeah, I won't be around that weekend. But August is going to be chaos at Circa with all the contest entries going to be pouring in. It's funny because when last night when I was putting in some of those Circa Survivor entries, there was nobody up there at the window around midnight. Perfect time to put in your contest entries. It's going to be crazy over there in the month of August. But I love what Derek Stevens and everybody involved in the Circa Sports department's doing with these contests, man. The biggest football contest in the world. And if you're a serious bettor, serious player, you got to get in all these contests. I wish the Westgate contest gets some more support too, because I love the fact that John Murray's finally started this college football contest at the Westgate. We've been asking for a long time, so hopefully the entry numbers really pick up in that over the next month or so as well. As always, vsin.com or vsin live on Twitter. And Kiev, look forward to seeing you hopefully sometime in August, even though we're not going to be there at Circa on the same weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime, San Diego, Arizona, wherever we're at, it'd be great to see you too. Thanks again, Matt. Make sure you guys follow out Matt Youmans at Matt Youmans274. Matt, best of luck this weekend. We'll be talking soon.
You bet.